I was doing a session today with a customer, and they're like, how do you handle change management with all these new technologies? Like, what does Microsoft do to help people get up to speed? I'm like, well, let's look at Copilot as our example. Let me walk you through, the Viva Engage community, where we share recipes that we call it Cooking with Copilot, where we share our prompt recipes. Let me look at, the Viva Learning, where we have the Copilot Academy that customers can deploy so they can start educating and upskilling their people on using AI. So yeah, everybody's doing AI today. Most everybody's doing Copilot, but everybody's doing AI. And it is a really interesting time to be in this space because it is rapidly growing, rapidly maturing.
Hello and welcome to Cissay's Collab Space. My name is Amy Cissay. I am your host, and today we are joined with a very, very good friend, Jay Leask. I have known Jay for a really, really, really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I need to hear about the latest and greatest of what you're working on.
Okay. I'm super excited to join you. It has been too long since we've done something like this. And yes, it does. It's we could probably measure our friendship on the SharePoint versions based on how we've been friends. So easily in the 2007 to 2010 range, depending on when you installed, right? I thank you for having me. I'm very excited to talk with you. I am now, as of December of 2023, I'm actually at Microsoft now, and I'm super excited. You can see the logo way up here, and I'm very excited about it. And it was a crazy, unexpected change, and it was awesome. I'll tell you all about it. Yeah.
Nice. So let's talk about that. You were at AvePoint for a really long time. What it seems like to me, anyway. I feel like the entire time I have known you, it was through AvePoint.
Almost, yeah. I was at AvePoint for 7.5 years, which is a really long time. It's my longest tenure at any company. I've been in technology since 1998. That was my first tech job, and so to be at one company for 7.5 years, that was a long time, and it was a very good tenure. And I had an excellent time. I had great leadership guiding my career. And heck, it brought me, I was in the Microsoft ecosystem before a little bit, doing SharePoint deployments but it really brought me into the space, and it gave me the relationships I have with the Microsoft federal team and with the MTC here in Washington, DC, or Arlington, Virginia, technically. And yeah, it was a long time. It was a good long time, but it was a long time.
All right, so you're already ingrained in the Microsoft culture with acronyms, talking about MTCs.
That's right. Over. It's down here. Down here, we got MTC Modern Work Architect. All right, what is an MTC? So, the Microsoft Technology Center. It is an official Microsoft place. There are 15 of them in the United States and North America. There are 42 of them worldwide, I think. They are destinations for our partners and our account teams to bring our most strategic customers in. We are kind of like short-term consulting services, except it's included as part of your relationship with Microsoft. It's not like we sign on to do a project or anything like that. And I say short-term, I really mean it. Our engagements are typically 1 to 2 days, maybe 3 or 4, depending on what we're trying to accomplish. And you come in, we help you ideate, we help you define the solution, we help you test a few things, and then you go home and you actually have to do the production work with your either in-house team or your partner. So we are not long-term engagement, although I've had, over the last 2 months, I've had the customer I had today, I've met with them 4 times over 2 or 3 different topics. But it's really, we're here to help customers determine if what we're offering can actually solve the challenge that they have, right? You can imagine you're being sold to by AWS and Google and Microsoft and IBM and Salesforce, and you have all of these sales teams trying to convince you we can do it. We're the best out there. And somehow, in its 20 years of existence, the MTC has become this almost neutral party that customers come to trust. And it's funny, the statement that I give customers as they walk in the door is, look, you came here to talk about SharePoint, or you came here to talk about Teams or Viva or whatever it is my specialties are for the day. If it's not the right solution, despite the salesperson's goals, I'm going to tell you it's not the right solution. Because if I don't tell you that, you're not going to have trust in us the next time we suggest coming in. And so our goal is not to sell this piece of software or that. Our goal is to establish trust between Microsoft and the customer so that when Microsoft says we can do this, they believe it.
So I've actually been to MTC in Roslyn.
Oh, yep, that's us.
Okay, so I had a tour, very cool facility, and it was interactive, and I remember the simulation setups. So you jogged a thought that I had. I remember in the past, partners could go to the Microsoft stores, the one that used to be in Pentagon City.
Yep.
Is this like the elevated experience of that since the stores have closed?
Sort of. So
Okay.
we do have some similar capabilities, right? So first of all, we love our partners, and that's not the Microsoft statement, right? The MTC it's a 22,000 square foot space. I'm right now in our envisioning theater, which holds 40 people. We have 4 boardrooms. We have a Microsoft Teams, not Teams Premium, a Teams signature room. We have a couple of different collaboration spaces. We have more space than our 5 architects can support. And the point there, the reason for that is to enable a space for our partners to come in and help their customers, as well as to partner with us to support their customers. So we love our partners because they come to our space and they use it and they show it off. We had a partner in yesterday who brought 50 people to talk about Copilot. And they asked us to do a 1-hour presentation as part of their 6-hour day. And it's great because it's good for them. It shows off the partners' engagement with Microsoft. It gives them a space that's really cool. Like I said, we're on the 14th floor overlooking the Potomac River. We have this envisioning theater with a 48 by 9 foot screen behind me, LED wall. We have all those boardrooms. We have the various as you mentioned, experiences that you can actually go and touch, not just Microsoft solutions, but partner solutions. We have a few HoloLenses set up. I can even put an Xbox on this thing if I really want to. So it's a fun place to be, and we love for our partners to come in. Now, it's not quite like the store, right? You're not going to come buy anything, first of all. And it is maybe my experience with the stores aren't quite what yours is, but it's a very guided experience here, right? So we do have a device bar, right, with about 10 different variations of the Surface laptops and studios. And we have partner devices all over the place. I'm sitting next to the 55-inch hub, Surface Hub right now. We also have Neat devices and Neat devices and Yealinks and Cisco's and Logitech's all over the space. So it is a really cool space to come see what's possible with Microsoft ecosystem.
All right. So how does a partner visit? Can they just show up, knock on the door, say, hey, I'm here? Do we have to schedule, a meeting with someone?
Yeah.
How does it work?
I don't recommend just knocking on the door because it's going to be unlikely someone's available. That's another difference between us and the store, right?
Right.
So you are welcome to request time through me. If you have a personal relationship with one of the architects or the director of the space, you're welcome to talk with them. Also, any partner who has a partner development manager can go through their partner development manager and say, I would like to use the MTC space. Here's what I'm thinking. Can you help me connect with the team? So if you don't have that personal relationship like Amy and I have, you are welcome to go through your PDM and tell them, hey, I'm in the DC area. I want to bring a customer in. I want to talk about Surface devices. I want to talk about Copilot. Who doesn't want to talk about Copilot? That's something that we can enable. Yep.
Excellent. So that's good to know. So aside from Copilot, or I guess we're going to talk about Copilot. Like, so what are you working on these days? Like, what's the technology specifically that you're working on?
Microsoft. Everybody at Microsoft is working on AI, right? It's really funny. I was doing a session today with a customer, and they're like, "How do you handle change management with all these new technologies? Like, what does Microsoft do to help people get up to speed?" I'm like, "Well, let's look at Copilot as our example. Let me walk you through, the Viva Engage community where we share recipes that we call it Cooking with Copilot, where we share our prompt recipes. Let me look at, the Viva Learning where we have the Copilot Academy that customers can deploy so they can start educating and upskilling their people on using AI. So yeah, everybody's doing AI today. Most everybody's doing Copilot, but everybody's doing AI. And it is a really interesting time to be in this space because it is rapidly growing, rapidly maturing. What else are we doing? I'm doing a lot of Viva stuff. And Viva is, it's coming. I don't want to say it's coming back. It's getting more attention again. And part of it is that realization that I just walked you through of like, I've got another technology I need to train my people on. And this one scares people, right? This one, people think it's coming for their jobs. How do we help educate them? How do we gather their sentiment of how it is? How do we know if it's being useful? So Viva is getting a lot of attention in how it can support that message, how it can help educate people and upskill your teams. So I'm doing a lot of that. And then I'm right here in the DC area, right? So I get a lot of, I'm migrating to SharePoint for the first time. What can I do with my intranet? Do I even need an intranet, right? So I still have a lot of those conversations.
I literally just had a conversation with someone who was intrigued by having an intranet, but they wanted it in Engage.
Yeah. Well, interesting. Yeah. It's not a no, right? Like the question for them becomes, sorry, I have to readjust on this very uncomfortable saddle chair. The question for them becomes, how do you want your intranet to support your people, right? So if I'm going to have an intranet, what does that mean? Like, do you want to publish information for people to consume? Do you want them to interact with you? Like, what exactly are we looking at?
So do you find that the use cases for Viva Engage is more so what we saw with Yammer? Or do you feel like the experience has been elevated now that it's inside of Engage?
Okay. So
well, not now that it's inside of Engage, but now that
no, I know what you mean exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So let's approach that in a couple different ways. First, I have to make sure that I didn't just screw up my boss's day by being in this room.
Okay. Yep, do your thing.
Crud, they do. Hey, Amy, we're going to have to pause, and I'm going to have to resettle.
Absolutely. Can you show a cool place that you moved to?
I'll try. It won't be this cool, but let me find one, okay? Give me a couple minutes.
Sure.
All right. Sorry about that. Here we are. I am now in a different room in the MTC, just to give you we should do that. We should do a tour of the MTC 5 minutes at a time, right?
That'd be awesome, actually.
I was in our envisioning theater, and my boss messaged me on the side. He's like, "I'm sorry, but people are here who specifically came to see this space. I should have checked beforehand. So I'm now in our team signature room, which is kind of unfortunate because we're not using Teams for this meeting. But here, let me do this. We'll just get a little bit messy.
Okay.
Come over here. Behind me, I've got the ultra wide screen with the AI camera bar. And if we were in a Teams meeting, these are great for front row style meetings. And in fact, the table I'm at is really interesting. This is a guitar pick shaped table, so it's almost a triangle. And when we talk with customers about, ooh, that's fun. When we talk with customers about like modern workspaces, we have a lot of conversations about the different types of rooms you might want to set up for your environment. So this is great for like a hybrid environment where you're going to have customers, where you're going to have employees who are both in person and remote. And what that TV does is it gives us a good space for the front row, which is where everyone's face appears across the bottom. And then it gives me a sidebar for the chat and a sidebar so I can see people who has their hand raised and all that. But that's the room I'm in now.
Interesting. Okay.
And over my shoulder here, this is one of the 85-inch hubs, Surface hubs running. It's running the Hub 2 software. It'll be running Hub 3 in the next month. And so that's on the background. They're actually daisy chained together so that when I join a meeting from the Surface, from the Teams signature room software, it daisy chains in, that's probably not the right word, the hub behind me, so I can use that as a whiteboard, and I can see people's faces and all that. Yeah.
Ah, very cool.
This is what I've gotten into, Amy. Right? So in my last job, my last few years at AvePoint, I was on the sales management side. I ran our national security team for a little while. I supported public sector across the board. And since coming to Microsoft, I went from being tangentially aware of all the Microsoft stuff to deeply embedded in all of the Microsoft stuff. And man, has it been a whirlwind.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't remember what we were talking about. Do you?
You were going to tell me about your perspectives on how Yammer switched to
okay.
Viva Engage.
Yeah. Okay. So the switch from Yammer to Viva Engage, there was a couple things. Yammer, a lot of companies have a really bad taste in their mouth from the idea of Yammer. So I've literally had meetings with people where I've been like, you should use Yammer. And they're like, boo. I'm like, oh, no, you're right. We don't use Yammer anymore. You should use Viva Engage. And they're like, tell me more. So the brand change was very helpful in getting people back to the table. The architectural change was huge. So they re-architected Yammer. And at the time, they moved over to Viva Engage. And while on the front end, it does a lot of the same things, on the back end, there's a lot more governance built into what you can do with it, controlling creation of it, controlling life cycle of the communities. You can link it to M365 groups now. So from a security perspective, you're in a much better shape. And then from a capabilities, we have been rolling out like specific use cases of why would you want social networking, right? Like, why do you need enterprise social networking? Well, for one, for 3 years, we worked from home. 100% of people worked, 90-something% of people worked from home. And there was no culture. You went to you did your virtual meetings, you did your work, you were home. That was it. There was no interaction with people outside of that. And what enterprise social networking does is it takes what was an edge case of people who weren't in the same office, and it creates a global standard for how do I engage my employee resource groups? How do I engage my communities across my company? Jokes aside, I'm told, I haven't done the research myself, the number one active community inside of Microsoft for Viva Engage is the Dogs of Microsoft group. It's people sharing and commenting on pictures of their dogs. Now, do we need that to make $1? No. But does it help build culture and relationships across a company, 225,000 people that are globally dispersed? Yeah, it absolutely does. So I think it has a lot of potential value. I think it's a matter of helping people see what that value is. I've been talking on the more professional side of those going back to the employee resource groups, going back to the communities of practice. If you're a corporation with 13, 26, I don't know why I'm doing multiples of 13, but with tens of mini companies inside of your corporation, how do you string the thread of being one company across? And that's helping build a culture by connecting people in these communities of practice. Teams is okay at it. You can do it in teams, but there's a huge benefit to actually taking the work meeting collaboration stuff and separating it from the communities stuff. So while the tools are slightly different, it goes a step further in saying my communities of practice, my social, my culture is over here, my work, my collaboration, it's over here. It helps to build a little bit of a boundary.
Like the water cooler talks that you would normally have
right?
At the office.
Yes.
That's what Engage is.
That is its base use case is the water cooler. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And I thought I saw at the Build conference that there are some AI Copilot components that are integrated into Viva Engage or coming soon.
Yes.
Can you speak more about that or no?
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah. So first of all, if there's a Microsoft tool out there, it will have a Copilot component in it very soon, if it doesn't already. So on the Viva Engage side, one of my favorite things that you can do is you can give it a bulleted list and say, turn this into a post. So I can say, help me write a post that shares my experience at this event. Here are some highlights. And then it'll create the post, and then I can attach a couple of photographs to it. And now I have this socially engaging, rich text conversation. You can even, and this is Copilot across the board. You could even say, make it sound informal and fun, or make it sound super formal, or make it, write it in the form of a poem. Like, yes, that's a real use case that people use.
I like that, because I think that, let's just say you have a person or a team or a marketing team or the people that are going to drive the engagement of using the platform, because I feel like you should have people who are regularly contributing to it so that people can be pulled back into using the products versus it going stale. I think that if Copilot can help them create content, because maybe they're kind of stuck with trying to figure out, all right, what I'm going to talk about now, that's an easy way for them to be able to create their content on a regular basis versus getting like brain fog.
I will admit that I 100% use Copilot to take a blank page and draft so much. Amy, it's not even I draft blog posts, I draft emails, it's getting past the blank page is its specialty, because it doesn't know who I am, but it has access to everything I have access to. Not up here, right? There's not a Copilot brain connector yet, but and I said yet, but it does everything in my corporation that I have access to. It has access to across M365, and so I can ask it. If Amy, if you were at Microsoft, I could say, when was the last time I worked with Amy Cisse? And what did we talk about? Summarize it. And it will tell me that information. Like that takes down the barrier to so many tasks that we have to do. I know I had a conversation with my boss about Copilot prompt storage. What did we talk about? And I can just ask it that, and it will it'll look at the Graph API to figure out who my boss is. And then it will look for interactions between my boss and I in email, in Teams channels, in group chats. And so it will pull all of that together to be able to help me find that bit of memory I can't find. Okay,
so the key point of that is that if an organization is going to use that whole concept of my manager piece, that AD needs to be updated and accurate.
Do you mean Entra ID? Yes, it does.
You get me started on that one, okay? You have no idea how mad I have been around this name change.
Yes. No, I follow. And yes. So when we talk about AI, there are a couple things that you kind of bring to that you're bringing up. There are a couple things you have to consider. First and foremost, the fact that it has access to everything I have access to is a huge reminder that we have to have a data hygiene process within our infrastructure. Don't get me wrong, we've always needed it. It's always been important. And for too many years, too many companies and organizations have used security by obscurity. AI is removing that so quickly. And one of my favorite quotes from a CIO of an energy company I met with recently, I at the beginning of every one of my sessions, I say, okay, I want to know who you are. I want to know what your role is. I don't care if you're the CIO. I care that you are in charge of technology buying decisions. It's a slight difference, right? And I want to know what your goal is for today. What do you want to talk about? What don't you want to talk about? And the CIO said, I don't want to talk about Copilot and AI. I'm like, all right, well, we're here to talk about Viva. So we're mostly okay, but tell me more. Like, what is it about AI you don't want to talk about? And she said very clearly, she's like, in the next 5 years, every technology I buy will have some form of AI in it. You don't need to convince me of the value of AI. It's going to be in everything I buy. Let's focus on what problems we're solving. And then whether it's AI or not, we'll figure that out as we go. Like, ooh, I like that a lot, right? Okay. Like the idea that we can let security be because you can't find something anymore, like you can't turn it off. You can today, but you won't be able to turn it off. It's just the direction that the entire industry is going.
Okay, so that's a good point, because when is it going to be officially available for government?
So funny story. Today is June 13th.
Okay.
Yesterday, Azure OpenAI was officially added to the Microsoft FedRAMP approved products list for GCC.
Okay.
So Azure OpenAI is the base requirement for Copilot in Microsoft 365. It is the large language model that all of our AI is built on, and so being FedRAMP approved means we can finally start rolling out the Copilot suite. So I don't have a date on Copilot, but if you're a government agency and you want to build your own AI stuff, Azure OpenAI is officially FedRAMPed.
Syntax.
Yes.
That's available for GCC already. Do you know?
When I looked last, I don't think Syntax was available in GCC High. I don't remember if it's available in GCC. Darn you, Amy. Darn you, straight to me looking at Copilot to get an answer to that question.
Oh, that'll be awesome. Because at least if, they don't have Copilot, some of the AI features, which I think is pretty cool, is when you talk about like the data hygiene and organizing their files. Like people, especially if they're trying to get rid of the folder structure and move to metadata, and AI automatically tagging documents for them would be a huge step in the right direction, in my opinion.
Yep. No, I agree with you. FYI, the initial Copilot response that I have not yet had an opportunity to vet, right? Key word here, you use Copilot, do something, you vet the answer. And one of the nice things is it gives you source materials. I haven't had a chance to vet it, and I want to keep having a conversation with you. So it says it's available in GCC. I know it's not in GCC High yet. So confirm it before you go back to your team and say, let's build a Syntax thing. It's huge. We have a Syntax demo right there. So it's on one of our experiences, and it's connected to a Fujitsu scanner. And I have a pile of invoices, and so I can scan the invoice using the scanner, and the scanner is programmed to put it into a particular SharePoint library, and that SharePoint library has a Syntax model attached to it, knowing that, hey, I'm looking for invoices here, and an invoice should have the following information in this kind of a structure. And within 5 minutes, every document it scans will have all of those SharePoint columns filled out. So
Yes.
you can build views on that metadata. You can assign sensitivity labels on that metadata. You can assign records management on that metadata. It's really cool. It's a cool
It
demo.
is really, really cool. And I love, so when we did it for a client, we took their contract documents and were able to automatically tag those documents, statement of works, proposal documents, solicitation, since they were government contractor, and also took the receipts. It did a really, really, really good job of reading data in the receipts, automatically tagging, and they had documents where it was handwritten forms that people filled out.
Yep.
Did a really good job of, for the most part, understanding the handwriting and automatically tagging. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool what it can pull off. When you schedule that appointment, Amy, I will walk you over to it and I'll show you the demo. It's a neat demo. It's also on the same in experience. There's an RPA demo, a robotic process automation demo, where we take a image based PDF, so not an OCR PDF, and it converts it, it OCRs it, and then it goes through and it uses Copilot to summarize the document. So it gives me a summary of this is what we're looking at. And then it takes all of the tables in the PDF and it adds them to a spreadsheet, which means now I can run Copilot against the spreadsheet to get insights about the data. So not only am I able to get a summary of a 200-page document, but I can pull all the tables out of it and I can get insights about the tables too. It's really cool.
That is really, really cool.
Yeah.
All right. I hope you have something else really, really cool for me about this change from Viva Topics
to
what's the replacement?
You're like, I'm waiting for you to tell me what it's going to. Okay. I'll be honest. I'm personally a little disappointed that Topics has run away. I think I've been, since I think we met when I was actually at Booz Allen, and since my time at Booz Allen, I've been very heavily in the knowledge management space, and it's hard for a knowledge manager to get a purpose-built tool that integrates in the place I work. Like I can get Confluence wikis, right? I can get purpose-built tools that are over there. But to have something in my system that can help me smartly identify stuff has been really hard. So what Topics did amazingly is it gave me the ability to curate known topics in my organization. So I could curate, hashtag Copilot, and I could say, here are the experts in Copilot. Here is the curated information you need to know about it. And then machine learning on the back end would help me curate that. It would give me suggestions. Not only would it help me have suggestions of who knows about Copilot and what are the key documents, but it would then say, hey, I know you've got this Copilot tag. Here's another potential tag a topic you might want to do on Azure OpenAI. And so it was really neat at doing that. I know that the topics pages will still exist, right? So your topics pages just become SharePoint pages. Your topic center just becomes a SharePoint site. So there's some layover as we try and figure out the next step. What I'm hearing is that the stuff we're doing on the generative AI side is really very rapidly overshadowing the manual stuff that you still have to do when it comes to Topics, Viva Topics. So I don't think, and this is just me pontificating, take MTC Modern Work Architect off the bottom. Hold on, I can actually do that. Wait, I can come in here, I get full screen.
I am not associated with Microsoft when I say this.
Man pontificator. Boy, I hope I spelled that correctly.
Boy.
I think what's happening is the generative AI stuff is going to overpower anything we could have done with manually curating that information. I hope what happens is we still give, because knowledge management is a huge part of what we have to do. I hope we still connect that human validation in what our Gen AI stuff is doing. So I don't know. Everything I'm hearing is Copilot is better. Copilot does this. Yeah, okay. Copilot does some really amazing stuff. But like I said, when I did a quick Copilot search just now, I still want to validate that it's right. And I can't, as a knowledge manager, I want to be able to tell people these are the official things. So I don't think there's a quite one-for-one replacement yet. I think we're still working towards that. Which it's unfortunate that it had to happen in that order, but you're a big company trying to make software that is financially going to return on the investment, and I can see why it's gone that direction.
Okay, I'll give you that, and then I'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, I trust me, I'm there. I get these companies that come in and say, so what happened to topics? I'm like, I'm sorry. It's all I can do is say I'm sorry right now. The Viva team, the people I know on the Viva team, though, they are doing some really cool stuff. And so knowing that they're really trying, like I've had people ask me, is Viva getting gutted? I'm like, no, Viva's not going away. They're investing heavily in communications. They're investing heavily in culture. One of the coolest things I think about Viva is the tie between what you can get out of insights, both personal and managerial and leadership insights about how are people using our system, combining it with the survey data. So every company, raise your hand if you have been at a company, an enterprise company that didn't do an annual survey of, are we a good place to work, right? Every company does them. But what Viva has given us is a platform that allows me to ask those questions and compare it to the insights. So Copilot's a great example. I can tell you how much people are using Copilot. I can then give you a survey for you to ask them, do you find it valuable? And so you can bring those two results back together, the sentiment with the programmatic analysis, to actually find out how are we doing. I think that's a really cool function. So I think Viva's going places. I unfortunately, Topics was not going with it.
Yes, right. That's a good summary. That's a good way to kind of see how it's gonna progress forward. Like it's not gonna officially die, but
yeah,
will resurface in some form or fashion.
Going back to the Grand Pontificator, I'm pretty sure we'll see something.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else cool with Viva that you want to talk about?
Oh man, we hinted at Amplify with the communications management, which if you've looked at Amplify before, it now supports deploying communications in email, in Teams, in Engage, and in SharePoint sites. So 4 of your major sources for communicating with people where they are. We talked about Engage and Q&As. We talked about Viva Learn. And I think people need to look at Viva Learn again. Like I had a customer come in and talk to me about their LMS. And I went, ooh, I have a question for you. Do your people like when you tell them to go to the LMS? No, they hate it. I'm like, right, because let me guess, they only go to the LMS to do the security training and the ethics training once a year. Yeah, pretty much, right? Well, can you use your LMS to educate them on the new technology? No. Okay, let's talk about how Viva Learn. If Viva Learn becomes your center, keep your LMS, right? All your stuff, just ingest that into Viva Learning. Now we can enhance what they're doing. Now they want to train, right? They want to get that upskilling. They want to get access to LinkedIn Learning articles. They want to get access to the Copilot stuff that's coming out. Like, so I find that kind of interface, that kind of upgrade is huge in getting people to want to learn with you rather than looking for their next job somewhere else. Yeah, I clearly don't like Viva at all.
What about connections? Have there been any updates to connections?
Some there's some stuff on connections that like, so for example, one of the big changes in connections in the past year or so was the enhancement from one home site to many. So if you think about those large corporations, multinational, you may have multiple intranet sites based on location, based on language, based on business unit. And so Viva Connections actually deployed that capability so you can assign multiple home sites and then target it to the right audience. So when you go to Viva Connections, Amy, you might see one set of content, and when I go, I'll see a different set of content. The other thing I think that people should look at in Viva Connections is it's not just the place to bring your intranet into Teams. You can actually build intelligent dashboards in Viva Connections that bring third-party information from across your corporate universe into a dashboard for employees. So when I go to Viva Connections, I don't see our intranet right away. I have a method to see it, but I see when's my next paycheck, how much PTO do I have left, what tasks do I have, what learning do I have, all of that right in front of me, dedicated to me. So it's pretty cool.
Yes, very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's shift gears to talk about events.
Oh, okay.
So you were at an event very recently.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I just came back from Seattle. Going back as far as we've been friends, you probably remember SP Fest. SP Fest became EduCon, became now TechCon 365. And so I've been speaking with them for quite a few years, and I really enjoy speaking with them. It's a really amazing community of speakers, and they put on a good event. So their Seattle event was last week. I was out there for 3 days. I gave presentations on, there were 4 sessions. Microsoft 365 groups with Joy Apple, Teams information governance with Joy Apple. We did a session on Viva, a framework for deploying Viva called the Viva Underground. And then I did a session on Zero Trust. What is the Microsoft Zero Trust story? So I had those sessions last week, and it was a lot of fun. I love going to conferences, Amy, getting the ability to talk with people who are both not a mixture of people who are just starting to learn and people who are really deeply embedded in the learning and are just trying to get over a hump, or trying to get that next piece of knowledge. So it's a lot of fun. You get a lot of different characters, a lot of different levels of knowledge, and I get to hear from across industries how things are going. So even in Seattle, I met with federal customers, I met with state and local customers, I met with commercial, and with academics and not-for-profits. Like, it was a whole variety of people.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I haven't actually gone to TechCon.
Yeah.
So I definitely will consider it since you had such a good experience. But yeah, like the other SP, what was it? SharePoint Fest?
Yep.
SP Fest, whatever it was called.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely have gone to those.
Yeah, TechCon will be in DC in August. So if you're local to DC like Amy and I are, they'll be in August here. Highly recommended. I'm not currently on the schedule because I'm traveling, but I'll be around Thursday and Friday at the very least. So it'll be a good place to be.
Probably crash the networking events, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's another good way to connect to people.
It is. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. And so because you love conferences so much and connecting with people, you're coming to New York Community Days in New York, July?
I'm not. So with the job change, there were very few things I applied to speak at, because I needed to get my feet under me here. I need to understand what's the level of effort, how much am I going to be able to travel, how much am I going to be able to spend at these conferences, because this is a very in-person job, right? You can't come to this team's signature room if I'm in Seattle. You can go to the one there, but that doesn't help me. So the TechCon conference and the Tech Mentor conference I have in August, those were things I applied to 9 months ago. before I got the job. And I have not applied to anything since the job came out, just because I wanted to figure things out. But in 2025, I will be traveling again. And I will be looking at least the Eastern regional conferences, with a few, throughout the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other events?
I mentioned Tech Mentor in August.
Yep.
Virtual
events. Government community call.
Oh, thank you. Man, you are like spoon feeding it. It's just dribbling off the yes. So we are restarting the government community call, the M365 government community call. And I'm very excited to do that. So it'll be my same co-hosts from before, Jeremy and Sarah and Rima and I are all going to get back together, and we're going to have a at least monthly conversation about M365 and government. And the goal is to span Microsoft 365. It is not just modern work. We're going to talk about Azure. We're going to talk about Viva. We're going to talk about data, and of course, what's it called? Copilot.
I can't forget the name of that.
I say it so much now that my brain's like, no, don't say it again.
Excellent. And you're still launching the Gov community calls through LinkedIn, or is it a different process now? Or will it be a different process?
We will put it on LinkedIn. We will put it on Twitter. We'll have a YouTube channel. The exact method, the best way to find it is just to follow me on LinkedIn. And I'll be sure to advertise it there, myself or Sarah or Rima or Jeremy. Everything else about it, we're still trying to figure out the exact details. We're looking to launch in the middle of August, and we might launch with a live recording at TechCon. So that's one of the things we're looking at. But yeah, so look for it to come out in August, and keep an eye on LinkedIn, and we'll put all the channels for it there. My co-host Sarah is actually all about getting it up on TikTok too. So she'll break it out into little shorts and put it on TikTok. She loves TikTok. I'm like, I love that you love it. Her stuff is brilliant.
She does. She puts out some pretty cool content for sure.
Yep.
Excellent. So I think that was the perfect segue when you mentioned how people can get in contact with you. So connect with you on LinkedIn. You're on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, but I'm going to be honest, I don't connect with people on Facebook if I haven't befriended you in person. So if the first place you look for me is on Facebook, I'm probably not going to accept it. But if you go to my.link.gallery/jleask, it's a good way to find me, and it's a good way to find access to all of my stuff. So it's my.link.gallery/jleask. There we go. Man, I've never used headlines so much in my life, but
Did it show up?
It's showing up on my.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
But that will have access. That'll give you access to all of my stuff, my blog, my LinkedIn, and everything.
Very cool. You already know it was such a pleasure to have you here today. I always enjoy having conversations with you.
Yes.
So you got to come back for sure.
It would be my pleasure. How often do you do this?
I actually publish videos every Monday.
Oh my gosh, I cannot keep up with that. But I would love to come back, and I'm happy to bring you the MTC perspective on anything you want to talk about.
Yes, and I got to come visit for sure.
Yeah. When we get offline, we'll schedule a date.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you. Take care.